The spirit world is everywhere in Thailand, where animism and folk beliefs are deeply infused with Buddhism. Most buildings boast a spirit house, a shrine placed in an auspicious corner of a property, where offerings can be made to appease ghosts, lest they turn malevolent. For much of Thailand's soothsayers, astrologers, and its huge monastic network, belief in the superstitious is undoubtedly lucrative. Exorcisms, protection spells and trinkets are all readily available at a price, while books and films about haunting spirits are hugely popular. Businesses often pay monks to make annual visits to chase away evil spirits. Thais believe a violent or unexpected death is more likely to result in the creation of an angry ghost when a soul departs, a common belief across many cultures. Ghosts are believed to frequent, amongst other places, certain trees, burial grounds near Buddhist temples, as well as abandoned houses. A spirit house is a shrine to the protection of a spirit of a place that is found in Southeast Asian countries of Burma, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam and the Philippines. A spirit house is normally in the form of a small roof structure and is mounted on a pillar or a dais. They can range in size from small platforms to houses large enough for people to enter. Spirit houses are intended to provide shelter for spirits that could cause problems for the people if not appeased. The shrines often include carved statues of people and animals. Offerings are left at the house to appropriate the spirits. Very common, they will include a bottled fizzy drink with a straw. More elaborate installations include an altar for this purpose. They're found outside many homes, offices, hotels, shopping malls and at roadsides. A Thai Buddha amulet, often referred to academically as a votive tablet, is a type of Thai Buddhist blessed item. It's used to raise funds to help the temple's operations. A Thai Buddhist monk will give an amulet to Buddhists as a gift after they donate money or offerings to the temple. The amulets are no longer considered a gift, but a tool to enhance luck in different aspects of life. Local people also use amulets to improve marriage, wealth, health, love and relationships. An obvious place to start any ghost tour is the Prachan amulet market, a labyrinth network of market stalls on the banks of the Chao Phraya River. These sell Buddhist and animistic amulets, yantra and statues. Some will simply suggest that it's must be haunted due to the spirits in the amulet. Others will tell you that these are mass-produced amulets and thus cannot have any magical powers. Whilst both have a grain of truth in them, they also disclose a lack of understanding by the commentator. Certainly they are not the most prized amulets created by devotional monks, but the truth is any object may contain a spirit and indeed have one placed within it. Indeed, after buying an amulet, I was strangely attracted to. I tested it in the palm of my right hand, and it quickly became warm. My youngest daughter also experienced this. Sorry, it was my left hand. Yeah, palm of my left hand. However, simply because some amulets contain spirits does not necessarily make the market haunted. Or I should say, make the haunting more apparent to most people. As the truth, in any urban area, and many in the rural are haunted, it's simply that we're unaware of them. Those of you interested in Thai amulets, I cannot recommend strongly enough fellow Mancunian Jenks, an expert who lives in Thailand. He's written numerous beautiful books on Thai magic and regularly features on this platform. I should add, whilst an expert, he's frequently very entertaining. Just to the north of the market is Thammasat University. The site is one of the bloodiest chapters in Thailand's modern history. Here on the morning of October the 6th, 1976, a right-wing militia violently cracked down on leftist student protests, resulting in a massacre of 41 students who were killed and 145 injured and 3,094 arrested. Some students sought refuge from the violence in one of the elevators of the Faculty of Liberal Arts, only to be shot when the army discovered them. For some reason, the bloodstains on the lift doors cannot be removed, as if someone wanted the world to know what happened here. So the university decided to paint the doors red to hide the stains. Rumour has it that many former students of Professor have had otherworldly encounters when taking the elevator at night. But today, the red door lifts are no longer operational. They've since been bolted to the wall, functioning as a bloody reminder of the university's past. In the grounds of the Thammasat, the Prachan campus at night, a dome building stands quiet and elegant, whilst looks out of place a statue of the king into the waters of the Chao Phraya River. It's said that if you look closely, you'll see spirits of 300 young men and women who gather in the security of the building's shadow. Close by Sanam Luang, the local ladies of the night are called jackfruit or tamarind ghosts. The Siriraj Hospital in Bangkok has been plagued by rumours of ghostly activity. Siriraj Piyamaharajkarun Hospital, or SIPA, is a hospital operated by the Faculty of Medicine of Siriraj Hospital of Medical University. It's located in Bangkok on the west bank of the Chao Phraya River, adjacent to Siriraj Hospital and opposite Thammasat University, Prachan campus. The hospital is catered to high-income patients, similar to private hospitals. One of its aims being to generate revenue for the operation of the Siriraj Hospital. The most famous story is that of a young woman who died in the hospital after being hit by a car. A ghost is said to haunt the halls of the hospital, appearing to patients and staff alike. In addition, there have been reports of strange noises and sightings of paranormal activity. The hospital has even been featured on TV shows about ghost stories. Despite these rumours, the hospital remains open and serves as a reminder of the city's dark past. Furthermore, the Siriraj Medical Museum abounds with medical curiosities, comprised of 6 different museums: a museum of pathology, a forensics museum, a museum of history of Thai medicine, a parasitology museum, an anatomical museum, and a prehistory museum. The Siriraj Medical Museum is often called by the name the Museum of Death as a result of the exhibits including dead bodies of convicted rapists and killers. Victims of unusual deaths are preserved fetuses and various body parts and murder weapons. The exhibits include the preserved body of Thailand's first recorded and most well-known serial killer and cannibal, Si Kway, also spelt Si Kui or Si Kway. Si Kway was a Chinese immigrant who moved to Thailand in 1944, where he was said to have had killed multiple children before eating their hearts and livers, which he believed made him powerful and even immortal. The exact number of victims remains unknown, but stories range from half a dozen to dozens, then from more ambitious sources to hundreds. In the 1950s, he was caught and sentenced to death by firing squad. His body has remained on display ever since as a deterrent to anyone who dares to repeat his crimes. His morbid legacy is to live on for decades through Thai parents who told their children to be good, or Si Kway will come and get you. His cadaver stands upright in a glass box and little smaller than a telephone booth, preserved in paraffin and smeared in what appears to be Vaseline. He looks less than human and more like a great raisin with white teeth. But it doesn't make him any less terrifying, although his body has now been cremated, I would say. In recent years, much doubt has been cast on the apocryphal of Si Kway. A reassessment of the evidence showed that no organs were missing from the bodies of the victims, and that the alleged timelines didn't match those with the testimonials that were given in court. Si Kway was said to have confessed to the murders, but denied the cannibalism charges. However, since he couldn't speak Thai and relied solely on interpreters, this claim is also widely doubted. Now it appears much more likely that Si Kway was a scapegoat and a victim of anti-Chinese sentiment, which was at its peak during the time of his trial. Whilst to the south of the market is the Dusit Palace. Since 1782, the foundation of Bangkok as the capital of the Kingdom of Siam, the monarchs of the Chakri dynasty have resided at the Grand Palace, by the Chao Phraya River. The palace became the focal point of the city as well as the seat of the royal government, and home of the king and his court, his children and his polygamous household. During the reign of King Chulalongkorn, the Grand Palace was transformed with the reconstruction and additions made to the middle court, state buildings and inner court, residential buildings of the palace. The changes sought to modernise the palace as well as accommodate its growing population. As a result, the palace, particularly the inner court, became extremely overcrowded. For years, strange things have happened at the palace. Ghostly apparitions, eerie noises, and objects moving on their own. Some say that the king's spirit is still lingering at the palace, unable to find peace. Others believe that the ghosts are those of servants who were killed when the palace was burned down during a revolution. Whatever the cause, there's no denying that the Dusit Palace is one of Bangkok's most haunted places. Visitors of the palace have reported seeing a figure of a ghostly woman in white roaming the halls. Some say she is the spirit of Queen Siriraj, who died in 2016. Others believe she is a servant who was killed when the palace burnt down. Either way, her presence is said to be a sign of bad luck. Another ghostly inhabitant of the Dusit Palace is known as the Green Lady. She's said to be a spirit of a young lady who died tragically during a fire at the palace. Her grey dress is said to be stained with blood, and she is often seen roaming the halls weeping. It's said that if you see her, it's an omen of death. The ghost of Wat Suthat is one of Bangkok's most famous ghost stories. Wat Suthat's Thep Warmawawan is a Buddhist temple. It is a royal temple of the first grade, one of 10 such temples in Bangkok. Construction was begun by King Rama I in 1807. In the beginning, it was initially called Wat Maha Suthawat and was located in a Coboretum grove. Further constructions and decorations were carried out by King Rama II, who helped carve the wooden doors, but the temple was not completed until the reign of King Rama III in 1847 or 1848. The temple contains the Buddha image of Pra Sri Sakarumi, which has been moved to the Sukhothai province, from the Sukhothai province. At the lower terrace of the base, there are 28 Chinese pagodas, which symbolise the 28 Buddhas born on this earth. Wat Suthat also contains Pra-Buddha Trilokachit in the Ubershot ordination hall and Pra-Buddha Sethahume Nuni in the Salakan Parian meeting hall. At the time, it was said that the Preta, a kind of undead Buddhist and Siamese belief, often depicted as a tall, hungry ghost with a thin body and a scary, howling cry, appeared in front of the temple at night. Thai spirits and ghosts are known generically as Phi. A large proportion of these spirits are nocturnal. Except for the well-known Preta, most ghosts were traditionally not represented in paintings or drawings. Hence they are purely based on oral tradition. However, one mural in the ordination hall of this temple also shows a painting of one Preta lying to feed water from the monks. This gave rise to the saying, Pret Wat Suthat, often paired with Rang Wat Suthat. The story of the ghost haunting of Wat Suthat is of a young girl named Nawin. Nawin was a beautiful young woman who lived in the early 1800s. She was betrothed to a wealthy man, but she fell in love with a poor artist named Raja. Raja was not able to support her, so she ended up marrying her betrothed. However, she could not forget Raja, and she continued to meet him in secret. Eventually, her husband found out about the love affair and had Raja killed. Nawin was so distraught that she hanged herself. Her ghost is said to haunt Wat Suthat ever since, appearing as a young woman with long black hair. Some say the ghost still wanders the halls of Wat Suthat, looking for her love. Others say that she can be sitting in front of the temple, weeping quietly to herself. The Shao Ching Cha, or giant swing, a towering Hindu structure, stands in front of the temple. At Romaneenart Park, a former maximum security prison, dates back to the 1890s. It sat abandoned for a number of years following its official closure. To preserve the history of the site and make use of the area once again, the prison was converted into a park in 1992 to commemorate the Queen's 60th birthday. The old prison remains quite intact, with guarded walls, watchtower cells and even a full prison block standing still at the site. Countless people claim to have encountered the paranormal within the park, which makes sense given the history of the prison. There are many violent individuals held at this facility, as well as poor, tortuous living conditions. This led to many deaths, and from those deaths a number of ghosts are said to have become trapped. The most common report is of a paranormal at the former jail. It's a site of apparitions and shadowy figures. These entities are believed to be the former inmates who lost their lives at the prison, and they've been frequently sighted across the park or even around the cell block area. Inside the park, amid lush trees, there is the Correction Museum that displays the history of law enforcement and types of punishment in Thailand. At Ratchada Road, some see an unusual sight when you come to a curve near the Bangkok Criminal Court. A shrine and many offerings placed on a big bow tree along the median. There is a spot where more than 100 people, and counting, have lost their lives due to traffic accidents. Some blame poor design of the road. Some blame intoxicated drivers. Others blame the spirits that linger there. Crash survivors described moments before the crash. They have seen a dark figure jumping out from the tree and cut in front of their cars, thus causing the accident. Some believe that the spirits who have lost their lives are trying to take another life to replace them in order to move beyond the underworld. In 2015, Thailand authorities cleaned up the shrine and removed the offerings for safety. But friends and family of the victims still continue to leave their offerings at the tree or the overhead walkway. Many believe that statues of zebras placed by spirit houses are used to placate the ghosts of those killed in road accidents. Sathorn Unique, or Ghost Tower in Bangkok, is in the middle of the busy Bangkok district. It's meant to be a luxury condominium. It was erected over 20 years ago. Sathorn Unique Tower is an unfinished skyscraper, planned as high-rise condominium complex. Construction of the building was halted in 1997 during the Asian financial crisis, when it was already about 80% complete. It's now amongst the most prominent of Bangkok's many derelict buildings and has become a destination for urban explorers. When it was first up, local believed that it was already cursed. The 46-storey high tower casts a shadow over a very sacred temple nearby, and locals see it as a sign of disrespect. Some believe that the building is haunted, as the land which it sits on is probably a former graveyard. Others believe that the location of the building, whose shadow is cast upon the neighbouring Wat Yan Tower, to be inauspicious, resulting in its failed completion. Not long after it was built, the builder ran out of money. The architect was arrested in a murder for hire case. The tower was since left unfinished and abandoned. Locals know not to venture near the tower, but it attracts many daredevils who seek the thrill of exploring, what many have come to name the Ghost Tower. Step into the dark and eerie interiors littered with broken pieces of bricks and windows, and one might start to feel a little uneasy. What might be lurking around the corner? One night in 2015, a photographer made his way up to the rooftop, thinking he could get a good shot of Bangkok's skyline. As he walked along the pitch-dark corridor, passing room by room, when he saw a lifeless body hanging from the ceiling of one of the rooms, he ran for help but did not manage to get any. Desperate, he posted the story on social media. Netizens went wild. The story kept everyone on the edge of their seats the entire night, as everyone wanted to know if it was true. It took the police many hours to locate the body of the man who'd hung himself on the 43rd floor. Apparently the Swedish man had been dead for a few days. Teochew Cemetery is a large cemetery in Bangkok's Sathorn district, covering an area of 42 acres. It's known as Wat Don Graveyard and is widely believed to be haunted. The cemetery was founded in 1899 and actually consists of adjacent cemeteries managed by three organisations, namely the Teochew Association of Thailand, the Protect Tong Foundation and the Hainan Dan Family Association. Sadly, time took its toll and the place of burial fell into disrepair and was abandoned in the 1990s. It was around that time that things started to get very strange within the cemetery. Allegedly, those buried at the cemetery became very disgruntled about the state of the burial place, with it being overgrown and neglected. Spooky ghost stories started to spread as well as fear. Many did not want to visit the area of the city due to the paranormal activity caused in and around the cemetery. The ghost sightings are even said to have become so prevalent that taxi drivers refuse any ride to pass through the area of the cemetery, just in case they accidentally picked up a ghost. Due to the aggressive spirits and negative energy at the cemetery, a plan was devised by the city. They vowed to clean up the cemetery and convert it into a space where the living could congregate with the dead. In 1996, the district administration began renovating derelict site, and part of the cemetery now serves as a public park. They hoped that this would appease the angered ghosts. It's said to have worked, with those buried at the cemetery no longer remaining angry. If you visit today, you'll find people picnicking, playing chess together, working out at the park's Muay Thai gym, or even singing karaoke. The graveyard at Wat Don Temple, many Thai locals claim to be the scariest place in Bangkok. The resting place for accident fatalities since 1899. This massive graveyard was a burial ground for many people who had died, most of whose identities cannot be traced. Hence, though more than 10,000 bodies have been buried here, most of the graves are unnamed. The area around the temple is isolated and covered in thick jungle. It's an unspoken rule amongst taxi drivers back then to avoid dropping off passengers in the area. Some taxi drivers who have driven passengers to the area have claimed that when they arrived, the driver turned to look at the back seat. They either saw that their passenger had vanished or that he or she was covered in blood. Some have said that they've dropped off passengers they unknowingly picked up, a ghost passenger. Locals has often seen taxis leaving the area with someone severely injured, covered in blood with missing arms or missing parts of the head, seated in the back seat or even right next to the driver. Today, some parts of the graveyard have been transformed into the park, where the living can jog amongst the dead. Wat Pai Ngoen Temple allegedly contained a morgue that kept 2002 unborn babies in plastic bags. A local man noticed that a dog was carrying a plastic bag in its mouth. When the dog tore the bag open, he was shocked. The dog was chewing on a baby's body part. Police followed the dog and traced the source of the bag to the nearby Wat Pai Ngoen Temple. When they entered the morgue, the stench was unbearable. They discovered more shocking piles of plastic bags that had overflown from the storage area. Inside the bags, dead fetuses and babies' body parts were found. After investigation, police found that for years the cremators had been paid by an illegal clinic to destroy the bodies. But recently the crematorium malfunctioned, so the bodies were piled up in storage until it had overflowed. Although the bodies were later properly cremated, locals sometimes still hear the sounds of babies giggling and crying coming from the direction of the temple. A photo surfaced on the news. Someone had captured a shadow of a baby figure in front of a storage door where the bodies were found.